And how old was he when you guys started to realize there's something different?
2.5?
No, even before, 1.5. Yeah, because he was not talking at all.
Oh, he wasn't talking?
No, not at all.
And what doctors did you take him to?
We took, first his pediatrician noticed something wrong with him. And we are advised to take him to neurologist in this town.
Took him to a pediatric neurologist.
Yeah, first.
Yeah.
And
he's the first one who guessed.
Yeah.
He said hurlers or hunters.
Yeah.
So he actually thought that was one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long after that did the testing?
God, it was almost...
Really quick.
No, I thought it was at least 5 or 6 months before the real...
Diagnosed?
Yeah. They said because of all the ear symptoms and the hernia, they were pretty sure. And then that they took his blood and sent it away. Yeah. But that took a while.
No, it's only a month. The end of December, we took him to that pediatric neurologist. Then he took a urine test through his regular pediatrician, and we got result back really quickly. And 2009 February he was diagnosed, one of the MPS, but we didn't know the type. And in March, a month after that, we found out he got MPS 2.
When you guys figure it out, was there some kind of trigger, or did just random?
No, she was a year old, and her older brother was holding her and carrying her outside and accidentally tripped with her and gave her a slight concussion. Because of the concussion, we had to go in and do CAT scan, and that's how they noticed something was wrong. So she was diagnosed within a year.
Seeing how you had 2 older boys, that maybe there was something quite off about Cooper?
You know, when the doctor said, maybe, we want to get some tests done, I thought he was crazy because Cooper walked when he was 1 year old. He said enough words to get by. He was the baby of 3 kids that talked, they talked for him. He communicated his wants and needs to us. So I didn't think anyone was wrong. The doctor talked about maybe a possible loss of hearing, which then translates to many Sanfilippo children. But he never had an earache. He was never at the doctor's. So no, I thought my doctor was crazy.
What was it about him that triggered something in the doctor's mind?
The 3 things that he mentioned were hearing loss, the traditional flat bridge of the nose,
okay,
the broad features, and that he wasn't, since he wasn't talking yet. So yeah, it was, and he had never, our pediatrician had never ever seen an MPS child in person ever.
Yeah, he was diagnosed around 9 months, and we traveled to Minnesota, met with some doctors there that were doing bone marrow transplants, and ended up actually going out there for about 3 months to have the transplant done.
We were lucky because back then the children weren't getting diagnosed that quickly.
Even right now, they don't get diagnosed.
We met a lot of families that had gone from doctor to doctor, and it took over 2 years for their kids to get diagnosed, and some of them didn't end up having transplants because other things had progressed, like maybe heart problems and that kind of thing. But it was a fight with the pediatrician, but finally at the 6-month checkup got us to the right doctor who happened to know the look and knew immediately what test to do, so we were very fortunate. Thank you, Dr. Feingold.
Dr. Murray Feingold from the Waltham Birth Defect Center.
Okay.
Yeah, here in Mass. So.
And what was it that actually triggered your curiosity to what's going on with my son?
Well, when he was born, his head was pretty big. And in my family, my nieces always had big heads. So, I wasn't that worried about it. But Heidi being a mother, she pursued it. And we ended up going to Boston and seeing a neurosurgeon who measured his head for ages 3 to 6 months. After 6 months of going down there and worrying, she came back and said, "Oh, everything's fine. Just bring him home. His head's back in line with his body. He'll be fine." She kept saying something isn't right. You could hear his breathing throughout the house.
That was the big thing to me, was the breathing and the constant runny nose.
Yeah.
Number of ear infections, but the breathing. You could hear him breathing from 3 rooms away. And I was thinking cystic fibrosis and or something. I just wanted to get on it. If it was something bad, I wanted to get on it as soon as possible, just in case it was anything we could do. And thank God that we did.
So he had, back then, upper respiratory problems?
Yeah, he had ear infections, upper respiratory, runny nose. His tongue would stick out more than the normal kid. But of course, we didn't know anything about Hurler syndrome or MPS. So
he also didn't look like any of us, which was kind of he was adorable, And funny story, when we went to see Dr. Feingold, who I adore.
We still see him.
Yeah. When we first met him, he took one look at Sam and he said, he's got those gruff facial features. He's got thick eyebrows. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
He left the room and I looked at Keith and I said, "I don't like this guy. What's he talking about? He's cute as a button." And I've told that story in front of some of his colleagues and then I add, and thank God that he noticed those gruff features because that's what saved his life. So he kind of says, "Oh, okay, she's going to say something."
When was Taylor diagnosed?
He was officially diagnosed, actually, he was right at 12 months.
Mm-hmm. We're taking him in for his year checkup with the pediatrician. And
Well, he'd had the kyphosis since we noticed that.
What?
Kyphosis
of the
in his back.
That curvature.
Okay.
And that was kind of the signal that, what's the deal? And the doctor's like, "Oh, it's no big deal. But if it's still kind of like that, we'll x-ray when he's a year old." And so that's x-ray because his birthday's in December. And the doctor didn't want to tell us before Christmas. But I kind of pushed her, and she did. And then we went and saw we didn't see a geneticist until January.
It was in January. She was actually out of New Mexico, but would come here to Scottsdale. And so we met with her here in Scottsdale. So Taylor was just over a year old when he was diagnosed.
And then it took a while to find out, because then they tested and they found out he had MPS.
Don't have any ice cream now.
I want it. I want.
We just had a chocolate milk, Mookie.
No, I want.
We just had a chocolate milk.
I want you to get ice cream now, please.
Where am I going to get ice cream?
Son.
First off, I can't leave.
Why?
Because I can't leave you here by yourself.
Oh.
You're going to get in so much trouble if you're in here by yourself.
I'm not.
Oh yeah, you'll go and you'll order some beers and you'll go and you'll hit on the nurses and stuff like that. You'll just get into trouble. Trouble, mister.
No.
Yeah?
There's one beer, Dad.
No?
Where's beer?
Well, you probably have a cooler in beside your bed.
What?
Of beer.
Oh. The table, Dad.
Oh, you just leave the beer on the table?
What?
Hey, what's your name? What's your name, buddy?
Trey.
What's your name?
Trey.
What's your last name?
Purcell.
Very good.
How old are you?
7.
Say hello.
Hello.
Now say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember when you guys started to realize that there might have been something a little off?
We never knew anything was we got a diagnosis, and that was we didn't know anything was wrong until the diagnosis. There were little things that came up, but they were explained away as typical and normal and
Yeah.
yeah.
Like little issues, but it wasn't anything,
Like colds, his colds hung on, and Ryan had a history of asthma, so it was maybe it's probably asthma, and kids get sick a lot, and don't worry about it. And ear infections, kids get ear infections all the time, so don't worry about it. And a hernia, well, the biggest surgical procedure in kids is hernia surgery, so don't worry about it. And so we didn't. I mean, we went back to the doctor for repeated things, but they were all typical, common childhood issues that nobody gave us any reason to think that anything else was going on.
And what led you guys to keep pushing forward and finding out what the definite problem was?
Because we've been to doctors numerous times, or we had a pediatrician, and I'd been back repeatedly, as I mentioned, for common childhood issues. We got to know our pediatricians, and I didn't like the first two. So I was looking for a new pediatrician, and
my mom introduced us to.
Yeah, his mom gave us the name
of a good, quite a respected and very good pediatrician who'd been around for quite a while. Yeah. And when we went and saw him, kind of took one look at Trey, knew he had some type of a storage disease. He didn't know, of course, which one, but
I think he knew it was MPS.
Yeah, I think he didn't know it was MPS.
He just didn't say anything to us at the time.
And how old was he when this happened?
23 months.
Okay, so just shy of 2 years. He probably had an enlarged liver.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's probably what signaled, and also his face.
Facial features and enlarged liver and hernia and big head.
Yes.
And, all of the...
All the signs now, we know MPS 2, if we saw Trey on the street at 23 months, we would probably say, hey, that kid looks like he has MPS 2. But we didn't know. He just looked like our cute little kid. We didn't know.
Yeah. Knowing that you were a carrier, or even knowing that you didn't know you were a carrier, was there, I guess you decided to have children?
Yeah.
Was there any talk about it, or?
Oh yeah, we had talked a lot about it before.
Yeah, extensively about it.
Yeah. We had a lot of trouble getting pregnant. And with our daughter, we had to go on fertility medicines, and finally got pregnant with her, and we were really relieved when we found out we were having a girl. We found out she was a girl right before Jeff went to Korea. And then along came Jaren.
Yep. Wow.
Jaren was a huge surprise. Right. He was one of those Bob Ross happy accident type thing. And I was scared to death from the moment I got pregnant. From the moment I found out, because not only, we had the fears because Melissa herself, she was born with a bilateral cleft lip and cleft palate, and that was just a huge thing. And then it was like, okay, gosh, we got really lucky with her, and what now? And, we wouldn't have changed anything for the world. I didn't want to do the prenatal testing because I was concerned about the risks to the baby. And we went as far as to make sure that we knew what we were having so that we could have everything set up to be able to do testing. And the plan had been to do the testing right away, after birth that next day. But he was in respiratory distress and had to be life-flighted. And so he was about, I want to say 12 days old when they did his testing, because they wanted to make sure that, they got the best samples possible, that there wasn't any medications in it that could cause any issues. And then the exact day that he was 1 month old, it was the day before Melissa's 4th birthday. We went in for the genetics appointment. We were staying in guest housing at Fort Riley. We were all alone, didn't know a soul. We drove the 2 hours to Kansas City, and they sat us down and told us that he had it.
I'm sure that was devastating.
It was. It was.
Did you know about alopecia yet?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't. I wasn't aware. I had refused during the pregnancy to do any research about hunters and anything like that. I had actually found the MPS forum while I was pregnant with him, but I was afraid to go on there. I was kind of afraid to jinx myself. I know that sounds crazy, but you know, the things you do for the people you love. And
it seems like with us, if it wasn't for bad luck, we would have no luck at all. So we kind of wash ourselves during her pregnancy and made sure we try to do everything to try to have the best outcome. And when we got the news, it was hard. But we come to the reality that we could only take it day by day. And did everything we could to give Jaren.
we had to do our best to do what was right for Jaren.
To give him the best quality of life we could. Because at that time, with the diagnosis and everything like that, with the doctor, I believe she said that, how she say it as far as Jared.
She told us that he was severe.
Parents, that the material they give you is horrible.
It's pretty scary.
Yes.
The first thing that the doctor told me when Rachel was diagnosed is if you're pregnant, you need to abort, and if you're not, you need to make sure you don't have any other children. And that was pretty scary. And you know, then, you know, she will not live to be past her mid-teens. That was, I probably had a nervous breakdown that I couldn't really have. I mean, I had lost a child in an automobile accident, and so this was really, for me, a real, it was just news that I didn't want to hear. And I had no idea at the time anything except she's not going to live. I mean, that, I guess, was what I heard. And from the material, there was nothing that really, you know, it certainly was, you know, there was nothing good in the material, but it just, I guess it didn't sink in because I knew nobody with MPS. And, you know, it was, so I guess the MPS part wasn't as scary as the, you know, as the longevity of life was not an option. And so it's been kind of a learn as you go process for me. And Rachel was one of the older children with MPS, one. And so it was...
well, how old is she now?
She's 24.
So obviously...
They were wrong.
Yeah. They also... we met years ago. I don't remember. We met when I first started the Elapraise trial.
Right.
And Rachel was actually part of the...
It was really the phase 2, trial for aldurazine.
Which is the enzyme replacement for that?
Right, it's the enzyme replacement, but the first trial was almost not a trial because it was really only 6 people.
That was ours. I was one of 12.
Right.
They only do it for safety.
Right,
And
right.
It's not really.
It's not really a trial.
It's just to make sure you don't die.
And the scary thing about this one, however, was
how many of
2
them?
of those people died. You know.
Well, they probably would have passed away.
You're probably right. And when you're in a position where there is nothing else that you have, this is it. This is, the future. If you want a future, this is your only chance. You just don't think twice about it. It doesn't matter how hard it is or how much of a long shot it is.